Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Okay, first of all, I want to get this out of the way. I have a light that Thrunite sent me. It comes in this carrying case. I'll have a demo coming up here soon. I told them I would give a shout out for it. It is a tactical light. You can hook it up on a gun. It has 5 settings from low, higher, 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 and then strobe. You click it on like this, bam. Well, I'll show you. Okay, that's low right there. Low, higher, 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 and back to low. So it's 4 settings there. Hold it down. It is a very, very powerful light. I'm telling you, when it's dark, it is amazing. Turn it off on the back there. And it is a well-built light. It works on the battery. This is the 3600 rechargeable. It's bigger than a AA, smaller than a C. Specialty battery that's a very powerful battery. And you can put it in the case or hook it to your gun. A very, very cool light. It is incredible. And it even has a little latch thing here. You can clip it to your tactical gear. If you have your militant, aspect going there. Also, I want to say that Susie Jang from the Kiwanis had invited me to the dinner. This is a charity. It is the oldest charity for children, I guess. I'm not sure all the details on it, but it's one of the oldest charities around. It's called the Kiwanis, and they are a children's charity. They go to hospitals. They do things for children. It's a wonderful thing, man. I sat around talking with these people while we were eating at the restaurant, and Miss Jang is the new lieutenant general. But the lieutenant general that was before her was sitting there beside me. He said, we had one view on our Facebook thing the other day. And he was like all excited that he had one view. And I was like thinking, oh my gosh, that's awful. They're out there doing all this stuff, paying their dues to be in this thing and to go do their charity, volunteering and all. They have one view on their Facebook page. Unbelievable. So I'm going to put a link in the description. Please go visit the Kiwanis page so that we can freak them out with thousands of views. Please do that for me. I'm asking you to. Okay. If you have a story to share, brentonsawin@gmail.com. You know the routine on that. You can get a hold of me, just my name, brentonsawin@gmail.com. Send me a description of your story and contact information. I'll get back to you. And then, last of all, between now and the 30th of next month, I have to take in contributions to compensate for the slump that we have had. We've had a very, very, very bad slump. I guess it's because of summertime or something. I don't know. But, I mean, I'm talking 85%, bam, down in revenue and views. I mean, it's incredible. I'm not sure what the deal is. I think it's that. So it'll recover. I'm going to just keep cranking out shows faster and faster. Today, I think I'm going to get 2 uploaded. I'm going to have another one recorded and up, and I have more tomorrow to get. So I'm just going to make a bunch of shows that I've got all kinds of people wanting to share. So I'm just going to knock the heck out of it, and I'll get the numbers up between now and then, though. If you can help, I'd appreciate it. If you can't, then share, like, comment, and all that kind of stuff. Sharing the videos certainly helps, so, But anyway, in the description, there will be a link called PayPal Me. You have one click, bam, and it takes you right to my PayPal, and all you got to do is put in the amount and make a donation. It's very, very simple. You don't have to have information or anything, so it's a way easier way to do it. Thanks to Mike, my buddy, that has been a subscriber for a long time. So God bless you, brother. All right, let's go talk to Eve. Hope you enjoy. All right, we have back Eve Dawes from Strange Ohio YouTube channel, and we were talking yesterday about a activity that's going on in her area of Ohio. Now, we also have in the past looked at these grassman of Ohio, actually known as the Ohio grassman, which is their Bigfoot, and she lives in this town where it seems to me that the creatures are starting to encroach into the town in this little suburb type area, a very small town, and they're getting into the backyards, and it looks like they're using opportunistic opportunities basically to grab cats' fruits. Eve here said something about having several different trees in her backyard that bear different fruits. And these creatures are known to come and harvest these types of things. And I even have a few pictures I might put up in the video if I can find them, of someone here recently who has some apple trees and peach trees and things like that. And they've been having issues with the Sasquatch coming in and taking it. So let's just get into these stories. We were going to touch upon this Wizard of Oz Monkey Man type story that she has collected in her research in Ohio from a friend of hers, and also a horned creature. And to me, I was kind of wondering, I was like, wow, I got to hear about that one because I had an encounter with a horned creature myself when I was a kid. So that's kind of a special kind of spot for me when I hear about such a thing as that. I know how terrifying it was. So anyway, let's go talk to Eve Dawes, Strange Ohio YouTube channel. Hello, Eve. How you doing?
Hi, Brent, and I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, and I was trying to hurry and get to you today, and you've been so patient and waiting for me to get done with the things I was doing earlier, and I appreciate that. And you certainly have a very pleasant attitude and demeanor, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll be doing some work together in the future. And you're not even that far away. Might have to come up there with a camera one
I'm
day.
telling you. I would look forward to that.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah. I've been telling people I'm on the cusp of beginning to go and do different things here and there, and I've been trying to reach Kurt Stokes, and
Mm-hmm.
because I had something planned for me and him to do at Cave Run Lake in Daniel Boone National Park, which is a
Uh-huh.
humongous. Daniel Boone goes all the way up into Ohio, all the way down into Tennessee. Cuts all the
Right.
way through the state, and it's a
Right.
very famous place. Daniel Boone supposedly had shot a what he called a Yahoo Bigfoot, and so it's known to be a place where all kinds of Bigfoot, Dogman, stuff like that exist. But Kurt, I was not getting a response back from him. I was like, man, what's going on with Kurt here? And I
Mm-hmm.
seen the last video a month ago, and he said something about my wife. I was like, oh, he done got married.
He's
That
in marital
explains.
bliss. Maybe he's into that for a little bit
Yeah,
because I'll tell you, I would like to see you do a dream team. I said that in the email. I don't have beds. I have a big backyard, and I am the best cook in town. Okay, and
yeah,
I would go so far as to find some place for you to catch some fishing because I know that that's the equation.
yeah,
And I'm telling you, Kurt is. I'm so fascinated because I feel that there are certain people that have kind of the touch that can go out and just and locate these things and actually get the photographs, because that is very, very difficult to do.
Right.
And I think he's one of the tops.
Yeah, and there's something about Kurt, and when you meet him in person, he's a tender-hearted person, and when I first was helping him try to get his YouTube thing bumped up, he was getting comments that were negative, and he just couldn't hardly handle it.
Aww.
And I say, I was talking to someone about it. I was like, he's a sensitive kind of person, and so I'm gonna have to talk to him about this. But I was telling him, like, look, man, out of all the thousands of hits you're getting, there's only a small percentage, 1% or so, that's negative. So ignore those and be thankful for all the ones that really like what you're doing and show you some love, And
I think his sensitivity, because you can tell that that's his nature, it comes across even in the video, and that is what is so good about him. And he should just shut those people off and don't pay attention to the detractors, because that can really get you down.
Yeah. And his sensitivity may be part of the reason that when he's out there in the woods, these creatures aren't scared of him, and they kind of come looking at him. They're basically peeking at him, and he's catching them on camera, and a few of the shots are pretty good shots, and it's hard to see these things in the woods no matter what.
And to get a photograph, almost impossible.
Right. Yeah. So I believe that his demeanor and his sensitivity and his attitude and what have you comes off even for a creature like Bigfoot or Dogman. They can sense that there's no threat there, and so they're looking at him, and I'm not saying they're necessarily befriending or anything like that, but they're not scared to be peeking at him and watching him and coming closer and things like that. And
he radiates a certain type of energy, and just like yourself, a horse or a snake, for instance, in nature, responds to you. It doesn't act like, if you get on a horse and you're scared to death, well, it's going to dump you. Same thing with the snake. It's going to respond to you. So I think that he's just smooth as silk when he goes out there. He's beautiful as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's a good fellow, and I hope he gets hold of me. So Kurt, if you're watching, man, give me a call, shoot me an email, and we'll get something going here. I'm ready to do it, and it's on me. So just holler. All right, well, Eve, let's get into some of Amber's stories that we were talking about yesterday with this, whatever the heck you call this, monkey wizard of Oz.
We call it Monkey Boy.
Yeah, Monkey Boy. Yeah, that's
And it's at Monkey Park, because we're assigning names to the places, because we obviously don't want to say right out.
Yeah.
So it's Monkey Park now.
All right. Let's hear about that story.
Okay, we were together when this happened. We actually had the sighting together. This was about, I'm going to say it was about 4 weeks ago now. I was driving around town, and as you mentioned to the folks that, we live in a small town. It's not rural, but it's a real small town. And I used to give, when I was younger, presentations to school-age kids at the various parks, etc. There's a little park. It's very small, and the river runs next to it, and it's about 6 blocks from where I live. And I was driving by there the other day, and I thought to myself, something's in there. It was just odd. And we decided not to do any tracking or anything together. We partner up just like when you're diving, you have the buddy system. And I think for women especially, that's the safest way to go, especially we have a high level of activity going on around here, it's scary at times. So anyway, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to get Amber when she's free and get her over here and let's do a walk through this park because I got a vibe on this. I picked her up. We went there. I was driving my boyfriend's big SUV thing, and we drove in, and there's nobody there. It had to be during the weekend because I'll tell you that the Y does some programs there, nature programs, and they have like a little nature house, that's there. We drive in, and it's a clear Ohio sunny day. It's gorgeous. Big blue sky, big fluffy clouds, low humidity. It was really a gorgeous day. It was early, I would say before noon. We drive into the park, and I park. There's actually a service road, a dirt road that goes alongside of the right side, and there's like a huge field on the left, and it just goes on and on. So I parked instead of driving down there, and we popped out of the vehicle and started walking down this little dirt road. We didn't go very far. I'm going to say about 10 feet. And I spotted this creature. There were some cement pads that were maybe, say, 10 by 12, a couple of them, in the middle of this field. It looked like that maybe they set something up there, some kind of equipment or whatever. I don't know what for. And it was sitting on the cement pad. I locked onto it with my eyes, and my rationale said to me, oh, this is a rough-legged hawk, which is a variety of hawks that we have here that are really huge. You don't see them too much, though. The red-tailed hawks here you see all the time. They're everywhere. But this type of hawk I don't see too much, and I'm looking for them. So I grabbed Amber's arm, and I said, be quiet. Let's walk up. It's a rough-legged hawk. It's hunting, obviously, because it's on the ground. It must have something. Be quiet, because you might never see one of these. I was all excited. So at that point, it was about, I'm going to say, 100 feet from us. We were close to it. It had its back to us, okay? And the one thing that was odd at the beginning, now a hawk, when you're that close to it, it can sense you, and it'll look at you, or it'll make a movement with its head, to try to scope you out, especially if it's on the ground with if it's got something it's eating. This thing didn't react, and I told her, don't even whisper because I don't want to make it fly off. But surely it could have hurt us, okay, had it been a hawk. That non-responsiveness kind of, I thought, well, that's odd, but okay. So we walk about, say, 20 more feet, and I think the first thing that I realized that this was no hawk we were looking at was that it adjusted itself. So it was sitting down on its rear end with its knees pulled up against its chest. All right?
Yeah.
And where the shoulders were, it was pointed like wings. That's the only way I can explain it. Like a huge Dracula or a big bat, okay? You know how when they're sitting and they adjust and how that looks?
Yeah.
I freaked out when I saw that because I'm like, that ain't right. And the first thing I thought of was, when I was a kid, I never liked watching The Wizard of Oz. You know, that was a popular movie, but it creeped me out. I thought it was creepy, to tell you the truth. And what this thing looked like, from the waist up at least, were those flying monkeys that were in The Wizard of Oz, if you remember those things.
Yeah, I do.
Uh, they were weird.
Yeah, they were.
Really creepy, okay? And I'm 61 years old, Brenton, and I've lived the life of 100 people. I've had a really full and really a blessed life. I've had some grand experience, and I have never seen anything like this thing. So then it came to the point to where now we're transfixed looking at it. Okay, it did that adjustment thing, and then we must have walked about 10 more feet. Now it's to our left, and now it's about, say 60 feet from us. It has this device in its hands that caught the reflection of the sun, and in my head I thought, oh, it's one of those expensive smartphones in the fancy case with maybe rhinestones or something highly reflective. And it looked like it was doing something manually, like it was texting or something. It wasn't speaking into it. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. And my boyfriend has just recently got one of these really, high-tech phones. And it was that size, and that's why, I thought, gosh, what the heck? Then I didn't see that then, like the reflective part, and I said to Amber, it's got a fancy cell phone or something like that. Something totally stupid, right? But it was like, how could we do, and basically we're having conversation back and forth like, are you seeing this? Tell me what you're seeing. We had to verify because it was so weird. You could not put a name to this thing. Then the leg showed somehow. And this is when I started getting a little nervous. I mean, really nervous. The leg looked like a crane leg, like a bird leg.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
But not yellow, kind of whitish, almost ivory colored. And that's when I said to Amber, do you see that leg? What kind of a leg is that? I really kind of started going crazy. I'm like, what is that thing? And the classic answer is, boy, it's hard to tell. Understatement, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, she got a couple pictures of it. I just remembered that. We have some pictures. And if we can get it off of her cell phone somehow, and I think we can blow it up and maybe there's like an outline.
If it's on her cell phone, she can email it directly, can't she?
This is an old one that she just uses as a camera, and we've been trying to figure out how to lift it off of that phone. So believe me, I'll figure it out. But can't she
get on the internet with it? Does it have internet?
No, it's not on. It's not in service. In other words. So, but maybe we can in the future just to get it off of there. It would be well worth it because you can see the outline on the thing. And
does it have internet capability though?
We could enhance it, if we got it on the computer. So I completely forgot about that.
I mean, the phone that she has, typically, if they can take pictures, they have the ability to log on to the internet. I have a phone that I only use for internet. I don't even have a service on it. So you can email it to your own email account and then download it. Or you know what I'm saying?
That's how I've been going off of my cell phone because I've got one that you can't. It doesn't have a memory card actually.
Yeah, and I have a cell phone that I don't have service on, but I just watch YouTube videos on it, and I
Oh.
take pictures and things like that. Um, and it's a good
So
little computer, but
does it log onto your wireless network?
yeah,
Is that
yeah.
all? Oh,
hmm
okay.
Usually a phone
Well,
that has a camera, you can get on. If you have a wireless um, at your home, you can set the phone to pick your wireless up. It should automatically detect that, and then
darn. I
yeah,
never tried that. Yeah, I can do that. No
yeah.
problem.
So she needs to
Thanks.
come over where if you got internet, and I'm sure you do if you have a YouTube channel, and
Right.
let her phone go into the settings, and you'll see where it's showing your internet, then put the password in. Once you're on
Yeah.
there, email that pic. You go to the pictures, and then you can click the picture. And typically at the bottom, it'll say share or edit or whatever. And then
Yeah.
you can email that picture to your Gmail or Yahoo or whatever. And then you can download it in your computer, and you're done. That's how
Right.
I always do my pictures. I never really hook my phone up to my computer.
That's well. Thanks for telling me that because I would be able to do that,
Right.
and so that makes life a lot easier. See, you can learn something every day.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't want to look, I've got some pictures that I was asked not to share.
Mhm.
I've got one there's been $40,000 offered for a set of six of these. I've got one of the pictures of a Bigfoot
Wow.
that was and it has pointy ears, a really weird long nose. It's stooped down, grabbing some feed from a feeder over here in Anderson County. And
Mm.
this farmer, he didn't want no money. He don't want no people coming around. And there's been people trying to buy these. But anyway, I've got one of those pictures, and I gave my word that I wouldn't let it out. So I just can't. But I was told
Yeah.
that I could share it discreetly, like if I was came up there or something, and I could show you the picture, and
That'd be great.
I just can't. I can't publish it and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is that if you have this picture and you want me to enhance it, I can
Yeah.
zoom in. I can clean it up. I can sharpen it up. I can brighten it. I can do all kinds of stuff to it, and then send it back to you or something. Um,
Well, I'll tell you what. We have such an archive now of photographs that that's not the only one. We've got footprints. We've got tree formations. Just all kinds of stuff. We
right.
have everything short of the actual Kirk Stokes type photograph, which I don't think I'll
Well,
ever get.
well,
But
you may have some stuff that good. Um, Kurt has to search through his stuff to find those. Now this
right,
monkey thing. If she took a picture of it with the phone from 60 feet or so, um, I don't know how good, how many pixels or whatever the phone had, but
yeah,
if you've got it on there at all, we can probably sharpen and clean it up and detail enhance it and things like that.
I
But
think that the way I viewed it on the phone itself after she took it, and I think from what I saw on the phone that we could do just that. And if there was something even beyond that type of software to sharpen it, we might be able to see something. You can see the outline of the thing in
yeah,
the field.
yeah, even if it's not real great, it would be still worth
Hmm.
trying to do what you can with it. But you say
Yeah.
this thing is sitting there.
Right.
And when it's sitting in the sitting position, that it has wings basically at where the shoulders are. The wings are kind of pointed up, like it has
Right.
its wings folded. Now, the body and the head of this thing was uh, what did the head and the body look like?
Okay, besides that characterization of the Wizard of Oz flying monkey character, um, the only thing that say from the neck up, the head in, I must have seen part of the face, because at one point I became giddy. I can tell you this. It looked like a pygmy, like a pygmy man. If you can visualize that, small, dark, that textured skin, but the hair was like a pygmy, like the headhunters. It looked pilated. That's why I thought it was a rough-legged hawk, because they have this fluffy, feathery thing like a fluffy owl has, when their feathers are fluffy and not down flat. Right. That's how its hair looked, or whatever it was on its head.
So it was kind of like a poofy looking. I'm not sure if I get that.
Have you ever seen people like in National Geographic, the pygmy tribes? They're a tribe of headhunters that are real small.
Right. I'm not sure if I remember what the hair looked like though. Was it kind of cotton ball looking, but dark or something, or just
black? But do you remember in the 60s they had a hairdo? Women had hairdo called petals.
No.
It looked like how can I explain it? It looked like
dreadlocky kind of thing. Kind of.
Pardon?
Little dreadlock kind of thing sticking up.
No, this looked totally different than that. This looked like a fluffy. If you knew what a choti was in Indian, in the Indian culture, it's a type of hair that they used to have, and it looks like it's each part is like feathered out into a roll almost. It's unique. Wow. That's why when I saw it, I thought it was that hawk.
All right. And was the body covered with hair, or
the body? It had its back to us, and there must have been there was some shrub, like just some raggedy little weed bushes. Not many, but around that cement pad. Because we went back the next day and walked it. We were scared to death, but we went back there to see if there was any evidence or tracks around the cement pad, okay?
Right.
It must have, the view of its back must have been obstructed, because when I saw the left leg come out, imagine if you're sitting like on your haunches, on your rear end with your knees pulled up, and you drop your left knee to the right. And that's when I saw that leg. And so I don't think I saw the back. I think I saw it from those pointy shoulder things, wings, down, maybe the middle of the back down. But the final thing, characteristic of this creature, was what really sent me over the edge. That's when I realized we had to get out of there. After it kind of shifted its wing shoulders around and did that adjustment like I've seen big birds do, or, huge birds, then it dropped that leg and we saw the leg. But then, level to where the mouth would be, okay? Now we're looking at its back, but we see the back of the head. It kind of turned its head to the right, and I saw this white thing come out. And, Brenton, it had to be a tongue, because it came out and went around and kind of lapped its face and came back into its mouth. For a second, my mind didn't want to believe that was a tongue. And I thought, well, it must have been scratching its face with it has white fingers or something. But I have to admit to myself that this was like a long, skinny tongue that came out.
So Amber's seeing this thing too?
Yeah.
And she took the picture.
Right.
My
because I didn't
goodness.
have my camera on me.
And when you all discussed this, you saw the same thing?
Yeah, I kept saying to her, "Tell me what you're seeing," and I mean, we kept comparing notes. Now this lasted about a good 10 minutes, if not 15 minutes. We hung out there for a while looking at this thing because, truthfully, I didn't feel any fear from it. I just thought this is an oddity. When I saw that tongue, or whatever that was, everything changed. And I looked at her and I said, "Honey, start walking backwards slowly." I said, "We've got to get out of here now." And so I looked, and we were so close to it. I had the realization, if this thing wanted to have us, it would have had us, both of us.
Well, how tall was it?
Well, I'm 4'11", and it was bigger than me. Let's put it that way.
Darn, it was that
Yeah.
big?
I mean, if it stood up, it had to be taller than me. It wasn't like a huge Bigfoot type. This was a skinny, bird-like monkey bird.
And if it stood up, it would have been more than 5 feet tall?
Yes.
My goodness.
Because figure sitting down, a rough-legged hawk, I'm just holding my hand up in front of me, can be 3 foot tall, if you think of it like that. And that's when I'm looking at it, well, it was sitting down and it was that big. So I'm thinking that it would have been at least my height, if not taller. But I wasn't taking any chances because I knew the lay of the land. We were like in a bottleneck, okay? To the right of us was all this thick brush that went down into the river. To the left of us, on the other side of the field, and the field is narrow and long, okay? There was the wood line over there, and it's real scrubby. There's a lot of bushes and brush. And all of a sudden, I'm looking around, to see how we are strategically to get out of there. And truthfully, we were really in a bad position to get out. And so we walked back real slow. I didn't want to, get the predator effect going by us running, because it would have nabbed us. We would have not been able to get away from this thing to get to the vehicle in time.
Wow.
So we backed up, we backed up because truthfully I did not want to keep my eyes off of it. And I told her, I said, "You look at the brush, you look at the surrounding area, and we're looking up, because we're always seriously paranoid about something dropping on us from the trees. Because the creatures around here are going up into the trees. We know that." And so we got out of there, Finally, when we got to the parking area, I looked at her and I said, "Run." And I'm telling you what, I am way out of shape. I got to the vehicle, we got in, I rolled all the windows up, and I was laughing hysterically. I think my girlfriend calls it the gallows laugh. I couldn't get a hold of myself. I was shaking and laughing. I said, "Did you see that thing? What was it?"
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that. I've heard of all kinds of crazy stuff, but my goodness, that almost sounds like a gargoyle.
It was kind of like a gargoyle, now that you think of it, but it didn't have that gargoyle face. It had a monkey face.
So you never did see it stand up then, huh?
No, I didn't want to see it stand up.
Yeah, I mean, if it
Because
stood
once
up
it
and it
could
had
fly,
my goodness, if it had bird legs, a monkey body, and had, or kind of a monkey, if it had bird legs, a monkey body, and wings, did the wings have feathers, or were they more like skin?
I did not see the wings. It did not have feathers, but it didn't have the traditional, like, demonic type wings that, I think of, like the skin stretched over the skeleton. It wasn't that. It was more, I don't think it had feathers. If it had feathers or any type of covering on it, it was so close that it was like suede or velvet. Okay, it didn't have any texture to it that I could see.
And the color of this creature, was it brown, black, or
It was black, blackish gray, gray black, uh, and but the legs were ivory colored, and that tongue thing was like ivory.
my goodness, that is crazy sound. Now,
Yeah,
I had a dogman story here not too long ago where the dogman was sticking its tongue out like a snake, and the
I
guy
heard
said
that.
he said the tongue was pinkish, kind of like a tongue color, and it had a
Right,
big black. He said there was a big black dot on the tongue.
right, like a
Um,
chow dog.
Now he didn't say that the tongue was forked or anything like that. So when I
Right.
said that it had a snake tongue in the title, people were like, there was a few people like saying that wasn't a snake. What I was saying is it was using its tongue like a snake because it was sticking its tongue out and it would quiver like it was
Right.
tasting the air. You know how when a snake does, you can tell what a snake is doing by watching it. It sticks the tongue out and
Absolutely.
it kind of flops a little, and he's tasting, and then he pulls his tongue back out. And this dog man was putting his nose up in the air like he's sniffing, but his tongue was running out, and he was doing the sniffing with the tongue. So he was
Right.
using his nose and his tongue. And if you've ever uh, thought about people who do taste tests and things
Right.
like that for a living, these super tasters, they call them, they not only use their tongue for tasting, but they also use their nose for tasting. So
Right.
your smell and your tongue, your tasting and your smelling are tied in together somewhat. So when you enjoy something that is really good to eat, your nose and your tongue are both participating in that. And so when a dog is sticking his nose up in the air and he's smelling and he's running his tongue out also and he's tasting, to me that tells me that this dog man was had a very, very high refined sense of smell and taste, and he was taking advantage of this taste, similar to like a serpent would do,
Mhm.
smelling and tasting the air.
When I listened to the program, because when I heard that fellow talking about that, first of all, a snake does taste the air, and I immediately had the picture of that dog man doing
Yeah,
that. He
and
he was,
he
and
wasn't.
and that's what this monkey boy was doing, and that's why I was so geeked out about it.
Yeah,
So we're right on the same
yeah,
page,
and think about this too. The guest never did say anything about the tongue thing other than when I kept pressing him, trying to dig up more and more and more. That was kind of a last thing that he threw in. He thought was weird, but he didn't say anything about it. Saying it was a snake tongue or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So that's
Yes.
what made me believe him. He said it was he did something kind of, I don't remember how he worded it, but he said it was kind of weird. He said because I was pressing him about the teeth. I said, "Did you see the teeth?" And he's
Mm.
like, "Yeah, I seen the teeth." And he was trying to explain to me how he was able to see the teeth. And he said that
Mhm.
it kind of had his mouth open a little, and then he kind of said something about the tongue. He said his tongue was he was sticking his tongue out, kind of like he lifted his head up, when he was trying to describe it like it was sniffing, like a dog would lift his head up to sniff. He said it was sticking
Right.
his tongue out, kind of like he was like tasting the air, and he
Oh
was going to
man.
let it go. That was all he was going to say. He didn't press that. I'm the one that latched onto that part because I thought that was very, very significant And then when he said that there was this huge, like this big black dot on the tongue, that's not something you would make up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you were going to make up this thing had a serpent tongue and it was going to sticking his tongue out, tasting the air, you wouldn't go into all that and go around go all the way around the horn kind of thing to say that this thing was sticking his nose in the air and he had his mouth open a little and he stuck his tongue out kind of like he was tasting the air. And by the way, he had a black dot on his tongue, and I mean, to me, that's not made up. That because there's some people saying, "Oh, he made that up. He's lying." That's not a
No, that's
lie.
not
A
made up.
human, you would never come up with that for a lie. The
First of
detail
all,
in
he was
passing, he threw that
reluctant
in.
to tell because he thought it had the weird quotient, and I understand that because the monkey boy is weird enough, but then you there's this tongue thing, okay, and it was the height of weirdness, and it just sounds impossible. It looked impossible.
Yeah,
Not
and
to
if
interrupt
you were
you,
going to
but
make a
gee,
story, up, if I was going to make up a Dogman story and try to go on someone's show or something like that and tell it, I mean, those little things like that are not things that you would be able to, because some people get mad at me because I seem like I'm interrupting and things, but I'm guiding these things through. And sometimes I'm a little bit redundant because I'm wanting to try to catch them. Uh, I'm a little bit redundant because I want to make sure that they're consistent. And the things that I've asked them beforehand when I'm doing this, people don't see what I've done beforehand. So when I'm doing this, I'm trying to see if they're consistent in you know what I'm saying? And those little things I look for that no one would just throw that in. And
well, thing is,
like you said, there's something like if you were going to make up a monkey man thing with wings or whatever, you wouldn't throw this weird white tongue thing that you're viewing from behind. You would make
no,
it from,
because
you
it
would
makes
say
it 10 times
that looked like a
crazier than it
finger.
is to be.
You would say, no, I seen a white tongue, and you would try to say that you had a good vantage point, or it's just not the
Oh,
way things are made up. Maybe someone might say you hallucinated. We can't
no.
prove. You know what I'm saying. If you're gonna be saying something against what you're saying, it
Right.
can't be that she's making it up. It might be she's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't prove a person wrong on that,
But when
or
there's
she's
two
she
eyewitnesses, see, that's
yeah,
when it gets tricky to try to disprove. I mean, when
yeah,
there's
two
two
eyewitnesses.
people that
Yeah,
are.
look, I've got my own story about that red creature with the red horns, and my sister walked in on it, and I still have people say that was sleep paralysis.
No.
Well, then how the
I've
heck did my
I've heard
sister
you
come
tell
in and
that.
see it? That's just absurd. My sister's not going to see my dream, or
Right.
you know what I mean. She's not going to walk in on my dream, and I wasn't even in bed. I'm not going to have
Oh.
sleep paralysis in the hallway in my house.
Yeah, or
To me,
mass hallucination or something.
yeah, mass
Just
hallucination. Yeah,
you have to take it for face value. You have to have faith that what the person is reporting to you is reporting it the way they actually had that experience.
right.
You
Yeah,
know,
I let
and
people tell their stories, and there's many people that appreciate you telling your stories. I know that when I talk to people, I can get a feel for them, how they are. I feel like you're gonna be as honest as you can, and if it's not some awesome, if you're telling me a story, you're not gonna make it more awesome just for me. If it's not an awesome story, then you'll say, "Hey, this is the story. I hope it's a good story." You know what I'm saying? So
right,
that's a
yeah,
very
and I hope that I try to tell it honestly. Because we
right,
all have our own perceptual reality. But yeah, I do, and thank you for that compliment
right,
because basically we're approaching this thing, our little ragbag group of trackers here who happen to be really good. I will say that, the group here, and we like to know, the common sense approach. All right. I mean, it's just basically common sense, and then you learn the subtle signs and the subtleties to look for after you've seen it a great number of times,
Yeah.
and it comes together like a picture.
Ohio is a very interesting place, I'll tell you that, because when I was a kid, when I was 5 years old, I had that one experience with that horned
Right.
red um, entity being. I mean, it was real. It was solid. You know what I'm saying? It had real fingernails, real, skin. It grabbed a hold of me and was, so it was a real creature and it had these horns and what have you. My sister, walks in and she sees this and I went to bite it. I didn't know what else to do to get it to let go of me, so I was just going to bite the heck out of it. That's what kids do.
Hey,
You just
that's
don't
what
make that up.
anybody does.
I mean, a kid, you don't have no other option except to
Hey,
bite.
listen, if something like that is grabbing me, I'm going to bite it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'll bite a plug out of something, you're going to lose a plug. I can tell you that. And, anyway, my sister, I trust my sister, because we had that experience together and she recalls it. I didn't ever talk about it until till I was 32. It happened when I was 5.
Wow.
First time I ever asked her about it was when I was 32 years old. And, I'm older than that now. I'm 47. So, I went a long time before I ever asked her, and she remembered immediately, But anyway, when she was in Ohio when we were kids, I remember her and my stepmom went to Ohio for something. I don't remember what it was, but I remember my sister telling me when they were in Ohio, they were driving down the road and it was dark and headlights, shining. And her and my stepmom saw a Bigfoot walk across the road. Those country roads. You know how I'm saying? A lot of the rural roads and stuff around there. Your lights will light up things for a long way on a dark night. And she said that it was very huge. It was very, very muscular. And it was walking on 2 legs. And you could see the muscle detail. And, this thing just walked across the road. And there wasn't a whole lot of stuff out there about Bigfoot. When we were kids,
That's right.
I don't even know if I ever seen the Patterson Gimlin stuff until I was much older. We didn't really have any cable TV, or I just don't remember seeing anything like that.
That didn't come till later,
Yeah.
But let me ask you, was that in the southern part of the state? Do you know?
I think it was. If I now I'm kind of trying to recollect. We lived in Marion. We lived in northern Indiana. I think they were cutting across, so it would have been in northern Ohio.
Okay, I thought you meant coming up from Kentucky. I had that mixed up. Okay.
At that time, we lived.
So they were coming across. They were going east into Ohio.
Yes, I was born in Kokomo, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then I lived in Marion, Indiana, when I had that encounter with that devil, me and my sister, and then we moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then we moved to Columbia City, Indiana, and from Columbia City we moved down to Alabama, and we lived in Tuscaloosa, we lived in Guntersville, and we lived in Moundsville, Indiana, where the Indian mounds are, things like that. Now, and then we moved to Kansas. I've lived all over the place. Now, one of the things that I've kind of mentioned a few times is Indiana and Ohio, and Michigan, they have very strange things happen up there. And you would think that it's not a high cryptid kind of thing or area, but I remember when we lived in Columbia City, Indiana, because when we were kids, you're 61, I'm 47. When we were kids, things weren't as built up as they are now, were they?
No.
Yeah, so I remember playing in the cornfields. I had cornfields that were on three sides of the property. We had about maybe 10 acre, maybe 20 acres. I'm not sure. We had a really big, like a quarter-mile long driveway. And our property was probably wide. I guess it was, I'm trying to think and visualize in my head. Our yard probably went for 100 feet on one side of the house. The other side of the house, probably another 100 feet. And, so our property probably, let me just kind of guess. I think our property was like 300 feet or so wide. That's pretty big,
Yeah.
And it was from the back of our property all the way to the road. It was probably a quarter mile. So it was a big old rectangle, okay?
Right.
Three sides were cornfields. And then through the cornfields, there was woods. Okay, so it was out in the country, and it was on a road that was called Roller Coaster Road. And it was real hilly. And I remember my dad had this little Datsun B20 or some little car. It sounded like a little bumblebee, It was like,
Yeah.
like a Volkswagen kind of something. It was a little yellow, economical kind of car. And then we had a car, I don't remember what you call those, the Ford Explorer, basically an SUV.
Yeah,
Of that
I know what
day.
that is.
Kind of like the O.J. Simpson was in, that kind of thing. 4-wheel drive, kind of thing. And we used to go cut firewood and pull the firewood on trailer back to the house and stuff. But, okay, here we are out in this country, really hilly, cornfields everywhere. I remember running through the cornfields and having weird feelings, something watching and things like that, and getting kind of spooked and running back toward the house. But I remember running through the cornfields and running into perfectly round circles. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right behind my house.
A crop circle.
Yeah, what they would call crop circles today. There was no such thing, You never heard nothing like that when I was a kid.
Right.
And I remember thinking, well, a tornado came through here and it just
right,
like touched.
It's the Midwest.
Yeah, it just touched right there.
That makes
and then
sense.
It lifted up, and then it touched again because I noticed that I went back through, a couple rows over, and there was another one. Perfect. I don't know how many more there was. I didn't really look around for thinking, well, I wonder how many there are. I just thought a tornado came through and it touched down. But if a tornado touched, it wouldn't leave a swath. It wouldn't leave just a perfect round. This was perfectly
It would be different,
round.
but it has that it has that motion. It looks like that.
Yeah, because it was kind of laid down in a circular, but it was perfectly round. I remember thinking how perfectly round. And the only reason I kind of bring this kind of stuff up sometimes is because people have had experiences sometimes that they have just kind of forgot about.
Right.
You've encountered things through your life. If you think back, I had Bigfoot encounters that I kind of got glimpses of the creature and the thing throwing things at me and stuff like that while camping and fishing. And I kind of blew it off because I did, it was never anything that was on my radar, or kind of deal. And and I've had other kind of experiences that I had pushed back and just didn't know what to make of it. And I think these days more people hear stories like you tell, like I tell, and other people come on and tell, and they think back and it's like, wow, I remember something. And I've had that happen so many times. Someone said, man, when you were talking about that, or someone was telling that story, that it made me think of this or that. And this happened to me, and I forgot all about it. That is
Yeah.
incredible that people do that. But anyway, enough about that. I get off on that tangent sometimes, man. Sorry about that.
Interesting
But
stuff,
we
though.
talked about the monkey creature, and this
Right.
has come up on an hour already. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Um, do you want to have the horned creature for a third episode?
I'd love to, Brenton. I've got so much material and so many stories,
And
and I'd love to share anything with
okay,
you if you
well,
would
let's
like
do
to.
this. Let's do this. Get Amber to come,
Okay.
and you all both can come on together and just maybe do it on speakerphone or something like that.
Fun.
Would that be okay?
That would be fun.
And if she can't come or doesn't want to come, not comfortable with it, you can tell the story, and then, whenever she's comfortable enough, she can come tell it.
She is ready to tell.
Okay, well,
Because
Brent.
the big problem with she and her siblings, and I mean her cousins have seen these things, her aunts, and probably her grandparents, but they didn't talk about it. They kind of wouldn't talk about it. But they had like a big eureka moment because finally they were telling someone that believed them.
Right, yeah.
And it was like a watershed moment for them, and it was great. So I think Amber is right ready, to tell her story, and she's a good storyteller.
Yeah, well, I mean, is she too far? Is she very far from you?
No, everybody, like I said, this little town, everybody lives within 6 blocks of each other, so it's, I would like to give me a rough rough idea of a day and a time, and then I could just have her over here, and
Well, I mean, I
we
do
could
this
be
every
ready.
day, so
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Um, let's see, what day? I would have to double check with her, but I think we could do it tomorrow. How early could we do it? What would be your earliest time?
11.
Yeah, I don't want to pin you down, but
No.
the earlier the better for us to be able to get it together and kind of spend the time, because I'll tell you, it's been so awful hot out, and I'm having a terrible time with allergies. If I get set in where I have to go, before it gets to be 100.
I mean, I can get just prepared to do it earlier. I can do it 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
No,
Yeah.
11 would be fine, because
Okay.
you said you're not a real early person, and that's fine with me. That would be great.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, just holler and let me know. I really need to get something done every single day. So,
Right. Right. I
the,
would love to talk to you about my darn peach tree that was pulled apart like a banana peel, and I had a like a hyena yipping outside my door. It was actually the Saturday before Easter, the week before Easter weekend.
wow.
In the daytime.
See, that's why I'm saying you've got all kinds of stories. So
yeah,
you can just be a regular if you want to. I mean,
I'd love to be Brenton, because I love to tell the stories, and I am just at the point where I want to share the stories, and we are so overloaded with writing everything down that it's been hard for me to get on the technical side and get this stuff actually formatted and on YouTube. So that would be great. You just lead the way.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate it. It helps me. It gives me programming for everybody out there listening, and certainly you're going to be getting a lot of people hearing about your stories. Every time you come on, that's just going to add another 10,000 people or more.
Right.
That know who you are.
I don't think it's really hit me. I went back into the house. I came outside and sat in my boyfriend's truck while we were doing the interview yesterday, last night, because it was quiet in there, and I could get my head together. But after I got off the phone, I was so excited. I just sat in the living room with a big grin on my face. So this is a great experience, and I appreciate your generosity. I do.
Well, you know what? It's kind of very I don't even know the words, I guess, but it's kind of a responsibility in a way when you have a platform where over time I've reached, I guess, 7 million to more. I don't really know like where all my videos have gone to. I've had people, I've had them share, sharing my stuff on the networks over in the Philippines. Some people like, well, Gaia TV, I know, has been sharing some of my stuff. I've, it's all over, so I don't really know where all the stuff's going. So there's been millions of people that have been hearing this stuff from, and I'm not even a big channel, so to me, it's a kind of a responsibility because you have the ability to reach thousands, hundreds of thousands, into the millions of people, and convey a story, convey an idea. So like when you come on, if you was to come on and do kind of be a regular, sharing all these stories from Strange Ohio, which I think is just an awesome idea, because there's a lot of strange stuff up in that area. There just is, I used to live up in that region. I know that, you have the Michigan dog man, you have the Ohio grass man, you have Indiana's got its own kind of strange things that they don't even talk about that much, and I've gotten a lot of private emails from people from that area. So when you come on, if you're coming on kind of regular, each time you come on, depending on how many views that's getting over time, you're going to have thousands and thousands and thousands. It'll add up over time. And as the channel grows, it keeps getting hits every single day. So you're sharing your story. And what it's going to do is people are going to know your name. They're going to know your channel. And then it's going to give you the opportunity to begin to build your platform. And to me, I think that is just so awesome how we have this tool available to us.
Right. It's just the concept is so beautiful. But see, the thing is, Brenton, is that what you're saying is marvelous. But if it wasn't for your generosity, for you're giving us the entree into this, and I would, your listeners, I'm sure, are aware of that. But it takes a lot, and to have 7 million viewers, I mean, that's impressive. So, and I think that how you do your interviews and your approach is pristine, and I'm terribly impressed with that, I have to tell you. So, yeah, it's all good. I'd love to. I'm very honored that you even invite me.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, and we will, I guess, talk to Amber and message me, and we'll try to get you on in the morning if you can do it in the morning. And
I'll text you tonight.
I'm very interested in hearing all the stories that you have, and I kind of would like to hear both of you together, where I can kind of talk to both of you together and hear. The people will probably want to, like, hey, I want to hear Amber, see what she has to say about this, and we're gonna get you up and running on your Strange Ohio thing, because I believe you have a very good opportunity to do this. So thank you very much, Eve, and I'll talk to you later today. Everybody out there in YouTube land, I appreciate you listening. As far as you've listened so far, an hour and 8 minutes at this point, I guess, minus the intro. So anyway, another hour-long episode. I appreciate every single fan that has invested their time and even made donations to the channel and helped me get as far as I have for the last 3.5, coming up, I guess, on 4 years in January, it will be 4 years of hard work that I've put into this. Many of you have been following me the whole time. You know that I started from very, very small, 2, 3, 4 to 10 subscribers, and built up over time. And it just took a lot of diligence and hard work to get to a platform to where we have a decent viewing audience now, and that is thank you to the people who watch, the people who share, like, comment, subscribe, and all these things. I can't do it without you all. So thank you very much. If anyone has a story out there that they would like to share here on Brenton Sawin Mysteries to Search, you can contact me at brentonsawin@gmail.com. Give a brief description, give some contact information, and I will get back in touch with you as soon as I can, and we will get you on the show. And if you would like to contribute to help support this work for this month and into the end of next month, basically, I am asking for contributions to help me through the summertime. I guess people are out doing things. They're not watching YouTube as much for a few months during the summer. If you want to contribute, I got a link in the description for PayPal Me. Go to click that, and it takes you directly to PayPal, and you don't need my information. It's a very, very easy process. You can make a contribution. That's much appreciated. God bless, and I'll see you all on the next video. Bye.